After I announced my pregnancy, my sister-in-law created a plan to humiliate me. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. I, 29F, recently announced my pregnancy to my family. It should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. I've always wanted to be a mom, and my husband, 31M, and I had been trying for almost a year. When the test finally came back positive, I cried tears of joy. We decided to wait until the 12-week mark to tell people, just to be safe. When we finally told the family, everyone was excited, at least, that's what I thought at first. My parents cried, my in-laws hugged us, and there were congratulations all around. But there was one person whose reaction didn't sit right, my sister-in-law Clara, 33F. Clara is my husband's older brother's wife. She's always been competitive in weird ways. If someone got a new car, she had to get a bigger one. If someone posted vacation photos, she'd post better ones. It was almost funny sometimes, until it wasn't. When I announced my pregnancy, she smiled and hugged me, but there was this flicker in her eyes. Not happiness. Something colder. And I should have trusted my gut, because what came next was pure malice. The subtle jabs begin. At first, it was small things. She'd make jokes like, "Wow, you're already showing? Must be all that pasta you eat. You're glowing, but maybe that's just sweat. I hope you don't gain too much, you know how hard it is to lose it after." I brushed it off. Hormones were already making me emotional, and I didn't want to be the sensitive one. But then she started doing it in front of others. At a family barbecue, she loudly told my mother-in-law, "I read that sometimes women confuse bloating with pregnancy. You know, false alarms." Everyone laughed awkwardly, and I felt like shrinking into the ground. The baby shower sabotage. The real humiliation came during my baby shower. My mother-in-law and best friend were planning it, but Clara insisted on helping. I was suspicious, but my MIL convinced me that Clara just wants to be included. The day of the shower, everything seemed normal at first. Decorations, games, food, it was beautiful. But then came the game Clara had prepared, a slideshow she claimed was a celebration of the mom-to-be. What played on the screen made my blood run cold. It wasn't sweet baby photos of me or memories with my husband. Instead, she had dug up every unflattering photo she could find, me with messy hair, me hungover in college, me crying after spilling wine at a wedding, me in sweats with no makeup. Each picture had captions like, "Future Mom of the Year. Hope the baby doesn't inherit this fashion sense. Hormones incoming." People laughed, but it wasn't the good kind of laughter. It was nervous, uncomfortable. I sat there frozen, tears stinging my eyes, while Clara stood by the projector grinning like she had won. Finally, my husband stood up, grabbed the laptop, and shut it down. He said, "That's enough. This isn't funny." But the damage was done. My special day, the one I'd been dreaming of for years, was turned into a roast at my expense. The fallout. After the shower, I locked myself in our bedroom and cried for hours. My husband was furious. He confronted his brother, who tried to defend Clara by saying, "She was just joking, don't take it so seriously." But when my husband pressed, it came out, Clara had been jealous. She'd been struggling to get pregnant for years, something I didn't even know. Instead of talking about her pain, she turned it into cruelty toward me. I can empathize with her struggle, infertility is heartbreaking. But the way she chose to handle it? By humiliating me, the very person she could have leaned on for support? That's not something I can forgive easily. Where things stand. I've gone no contact with Clara since the shower. I told my husband that if she's at family events, I won't be. I don't want that negativity around me or my baby. Some family members think I should be the bigger person and forgive her, given what she's going through. But I keep thinking, if she was willing to humiliate me publicly once, what's stopping her from doing something worse later? Do I really want someone like that in my child's life? I don't know. Part of me feels guilty for not being more understanding. But another part of me feels like my baby deserves a mother who is safe, respected, and surrounded by people who actually care. And right now, Clara isn't one of those people. After the baby shower incident, I thought I'd seen the worst of Clara. I thought that slideshow was the peak of her cruelty. But as it turns out, that was only her opening move. The silent treatment that wasn't so silent. After the shower, I cut contact with her. I ignored her texts, avoided family dinners, and made it clear I didn't want her near me. At first, she acted wounded, posting vague things on Facebook like, "Some people can't take a joke. Funny how I'm always the villain when others play the victim." But when I didn't respond, she got bolder. She started spreading rumors. Suddenly, family members were calling me, asking, "Is it true you only got pregnant to trap your husband? Clara said you've been having complications, are you okay? We heard you don't even want the baby shower gifts." I was horrified. She was turning my pregnancy, something sacred to me, into gossip fuel. The hospital scare. At around 7 months, I had a scare. Some bleeding, a rush to the ER, a night of panic. Thankfully, everything was okay, but it shook me. And guess who showed up at the hospital uninvited? Clara. She waltzed into my room with flowers, smiling for the nurses like she was the supportive sister-in-law. The second we were alone, her smile dropped. She leaned in and whispered, "You're not strong enough for this. Everyone knows it. Don't worry, I'll be the cool aunt. I'll make sure your kid grows up with at least one good role model." I was speechless. My husband kicked her out when he found out, but the damage was done. In my most vulnerable moment, she turned it into another opportunity to cut me down. The family divide. Her behavior split the family in half. My mother-in-law tried to defend me, saying Clara's slideshow was cruel and her hospital stunt was beyond the line. My father-in-law, however, kept brushing it off as Clara's sense of humor. My husband's brother, her husband, doubled down, saying I was the problem for exaggerating everything. Suddenly, family dinners became battlegrounds. If I showed up, Clara made snide comments under her breath. If I didn't, she painted me as dramatic and isolating herself. It felt like I was fighting for my dignity with every breath. The breaking point. Things reached their peak 2 weeks before my due date. My MIL hosted a small family gathering, and against my better judgment, I went. I thought maybe, just maybe, Clara would back off with the baby almost here. I was wrong. She stood up during dinner with her glass raised and said, "Here's to our soon-to-be mom. Let's hope the baby looks nothing like the embarrassing photos we've all seen already." The room went dead silent. My husband slammed his fork down and told everyone, "That's it. We're done. If Clara is in this family, we're out. Don't contact us until you're ready to treat my wife with respect." And he walked me out. I cried the whole way home, not just because of what Clara said, but because it finally hit me, she wasn't going to stop. Where things stand now. I'm officially no contact with Clara. Blocked on everything. My husband's brother keeps calling him, saying we're breaking the family apart. Some relatives say I should forgive her because of her infertility struggles. Others admit she's gone too far. And me? I'm days away from giving birth, and I'm exhausted. I should be focusing on the miracle of becoming a mother, but instead, I'm guarding myself against a woman who seems determined to make my pregnancy all about her bitterness. I don't know what she'll do when the baby arrives. Part of me fears she'll try to insert herself into my child's life, whether I want her to or not. But one thing is certain, if she tries to humiliate me again, I won't just stay quiet. She's already taken enough from me. She won't take my child's peace, too. After the fiasco at the baby shower and the constant digs from my sister-in-law, you'd think she might have backed off. But no, if anything, she doubled down. It was as if my pregnancy was some sort of personal insult to her. She treated every milestone of mine as if it was stealing the spotlight she believed belonged to her. I tried to ignore her for a while. I thought maybe she was just jealous or insecure, and I honestly pitied her. I told myself she probably wasn't happy in her marriage, or maybe she wanted another child and couldn't have one. But pity can only last so long when someone is actively tormenting you. At about 6 months pregnant, I was finally starting to feel more confident. I'd been glowing, people said, and I could actually walk into a room and feel proud. My husband and I had worked so hard to prepare the nursery, and my family seemed genuinely excited, except for my sister-in-law, of course. She had found new ways to accidentally insult me. For example, when we went shopping for baby clothes, she loudly told the cashier, "She's really letting herself go, isn't she?" I was back to a size 4 after 2 months postpartum. At family dinners, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "I just hope the baby looks more like my brother than like, well, you know." Then she'd laugh, as if she'd made a harmless joke. Once, she even told me that my pregnancy was probably an accident and that I shouldn't act like I'd achieved something grand. It was exhausting. I wanted to scream at her so many times, but I held back for the sake of keeping peace in the family. The hospital incident. Things came to a breaking point when I had to be admitted to the hospital for a routine check after experiencing some mild contractions earlier than expected. Nothing serious, it was precautionary. My husband rushed me there, and we called his parents to let them know. Somehow, my sister-in-law showed up too. I have no idea why she thought it was her place, but she strutted into the hospital room like she owned the place. She sat down, crossed her legs, and smirked at me. "Wow, hospitals really suit you. Look at you in that gown. It's like your true self is finally showing." I wanted to cry. I was scared, vulnerable, hooked up to monitors, and she was still finding a way to tear me down. Then, in front of the nurse, she said, "You know, with how stressed she gets, I wouldn't be surprised if something went wrong. Some women just aren't cut out to be mothers." The nurse literally turned to her and said, "Ma'am, that's completely inappropriate. Please step outside if you can't be supportive." It was the first time someone outside the family called her out, and I swear, I could have hugged that nurse. My sister-in-law turned red and stormed out, muttering something about overly sensitive people. The family meeting. After that incident, my husband had enough. He sat his sister down with their parents present and told her flat out, "You're done. If you say one more cruel thing to my wife, you're out of our lives. No visits, no calls, no updates about the baby. Nothing." His parents tried to smooth things over. "Oh, she didn't mean it, she's just joking, you know how she is." But my husband didn't budge. For the first time, I saw him truly stand up to his family, and I loved him even more for it. My sister-in-law, instead of apologizing, laughed and said, "Wow, she's really got you whipped. You're going to throw away your own sister for her? Don't worry, you'll see the truth when she ruins your life." That was it. My husband told her to leave and not to come back until she could respect me. The baby's arrival. Fast forward a couple months, I went into labor. It was long, painful, but also the most beautiful experience of my life. When I held my baby for the first time, everything melted away. The world shrank to just me, my husband, and our perfect little miracle. But even then, drama found its way in. Somehow, my sister-in-law showed up at the hospital again. This time, she tried to come into the maternity ward with flowers and balloons, acting like nothing had happened. My husband blocked her at the door. She exploded, shouting so loudly that security had to be called. She screamed things like, "This family is mine, not hers, and she doesn't deserve this baby." The nurses asked us if we wanted to ban her from visiting, and we said yes without hesitation. The aftermath. Once we brought the baby home, things finally started to calm down. My husband and I focused on our child, and we cut almost all contact with his sister. His parents still tried to guilt-trip us into forgiving her. "She's just jealous, you'll regret keeping her away, family is family." But we both stood firm. The thing is, she revealed who she truly was. Her obsession with tearing me down went too far, and I knew that if we let her anywhere near our child, she'd poison them with the same venom she'd used on me. Now, months later, she's still trying to stir up drama from a distance, posting passive-aggressive things online about fake mothers and broken families. But we've learned to ignore her. Because when I look at my baby's face, when I see my husband rocking them to sleep, I know I made the right choice. Reflection. Sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about who actually stands by you. My sister-in-law wanted to humiliate me, to make me feel small, but instead, she pushed my husband and me closer together. She made us stronger. And if she ever decides to truly change, maybe there's a chance for reconciliation. But until then, she has no place in our lives. The breaking point. After that disastrous dinner, I thought things would calm down. My husband had confronted his brother, my in-laws had seen with their own eyes how toxic my sister-in-law's behavior had become, and I assumed she would finally back off. But if anything, she doubled down. Every time she saw me, she made a point of bringing up my pregnancy in the most condescending way possible. If I mentioned being tired, she'd scoff and say, "Oh, every woman goes through it. You're not special." If I declined a glass of wine, she'd roll her eyes dramatically, like I was just trying to get attention. She even started a group chat with the women in the family, excluding me, where she'd share helpful tips about pregnancy, acting like she was the authority even though she had no children of her own. I only found out because one of my cousins showed me screenshots. The final straw came during my baby shower. I was nervous, emotional, but excited. My mom, sister, and best friends had worked so hard to put it together. It was beautiful, full of flowers, little finger foods, and so much love. And then my sister-in-law showed up. She was wearing a white dress, heavily padded in the stomach area to make her look pregnant. Everyone gasped when they saw her. She strutted in, rubbing her fake bump, loudly announcing, "Well, I didn't want OP to be the only one glowing today." The room went silent. My husband looked like he was about to explode. I burst into tears. Not because I thought anyone would actually believe her, but because it was so cruel, so mocking, so deliberately designed to ruin what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. My best friend escorted her out immediately, and my husband followed. I don't know exactly what was said, but when he came back, his face was pale with anger. He told me she would never set foot in our home again. That night, I got dozens of messages from family members apologizing for her behavior, saying they had never seen anything so nasty. Even my in-laws admitted they were ashamed of her. My father-in-law told my husband directly, "She is jealous, and she is dangerous. You need to protect OP and the baby from her." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt vindicated. But it still hurts. I can't understand why someone would go so far out of their way to tear me down just because I was pregnant. My husband and I are now considering going low contact with her altogether, because honestly, I don't want that kind of energy anywhere near my child. I don't know if she'll ever realize how cruel she's been, but at this point, I don't even care. My focus is on my baby, my husband, and the family and friends who truly support us. This was supposed to be a joyful chapter in my life, and she tried everything to poison it. But you know what? She failed. Because despite all her schemes, I am still here, my baby is still growing strong, and I have more love and support around me than she will ever understand. Final update. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 weeks ago. 2 hearts. The delivery was tough, but when I finally held her, everything, the drama, the tears, the stress, just melted away. My husband cried harder than I've ever seen him, and in that moment I knew we were starting a new chapter together. As for my sister-in-law? She wasn't invited to the hospital. She tried to show up at my in-laws' house with gifts, but they turned her away. She hasn't met our daughter, and honestly, she never will. We've gone no contact. My husband told her plainly, "You crossed every line. You will never hurt my wife or child again." And for the first time in months, I feel peace. My family is whole. My baby is safe. And her cruel little games? They're over.